Welcome to the HMO Property Show by investors for investors. Brought to you by the HMO Property Co, Australia's leaders in impact investing. Investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a positive financial return. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.
Welcome back to the HMO Property Show. I'm your host Neil Gibb, and today I've got one of my best mates, Mr. David Lamb, in the podcast all the way from the UK. Lammy, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Probably your best mate. What's that all about?
Definitely my best mate.
Oh, that's better, yeah.
What I'd like to tell people you are is the person that got me into real estate.
Well, I am, to be fair.
You are.
Genuinely?
You are. I'll never forget it. I came to Australia probably 6-7 months before you in 2010.
Yeah, just less than a year, yeah.
The UK prior to you moving to Australia and following me out here.
Yeah.
I actually left England to get rid of you, but you followed me.
Yeah, move somewhere nicer next time.
And then when you came over to Australia, you were investing in property back in the UK, weren't you?
I was already, yeah. I think I owned 3 or 4 properties by then. 2010 I moved over, backpacking for 3 months, and then, blagged my way into an offshore job and kept the property journey going. But yeah, I think I owned 3 or 4 properties by then, yeah.
And we both went on a similar journey through the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
You ended up Subsea 7.
Yeah.
You were driving ROVs, which is a pretty cool job, wasn't it?
It was actually. I don't know. I actually met a guy in a bar in Perth who gave me the job, luckily. So drinking is good for you. And he got me an in, I guess, and managed to, obviously, as you know, at the time, there was a massive boom over here, energy-wise. And we were earning stupid money. All my mates were buying sort of boats and big houses in Perth and Applecross and what have you, and I was just sending every penny I had back to the UK to buy ex-council houses.
So, and let's talk about the prices of the stuff you were buying, because you weren't buying high-end prices, were you?
No, I mean, the first sort of 4 or 5 I bought was sort of in the £70,000.
Wow, it's 140,000
exactly,
dollars.
Yeah, so... Yeah, but around about there, and doing small refurbs on them and getting there was such value in the market at the time. I was doing small refurbs and getting huge inflated revaluation figures, for relatively speaking. But then I went on to buy houses for sort of £40,000-50,000, so like 90 to 100,000 Aussie dollars, which I'm sure some of your listeners find unbelievable.
Yeah, well, you can't buy anything for less than $400,000 or $500,000 at the minute.
Exactly, yeah.
And you bought property in Australia as well, and we'll get to that soon, won't we?
Yeah.
So you got it in 2010. You had 3 or 4 properties under your belt, buying them for roughly £60,000-70,000.
Yeah.
What were the yields that you were getting on them?
Sort of 10%, even up to 12% yields.
Just a standard residential?
On a standard buy-to-let property.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the UK, you don't see that now. Or so much. You're very lucky to see that. But yeah, so 10 to 12% on a single residential buy-to-let, yeah.
And what sort of net yields are you getting after...
We've had free money for the last sort of 10 years, haven't we? So the nets weren't much different from the grosses, but you sort of net 7 to 8%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're buying a property for 70k and probably getting 5-6 grand a year positive cash flow from them.
Exactly. Yeah.
What sort of deposits are you putting down on a $70,000 property?
So 25%. So I'll be honest, when I was living in Australia and earning such good money, I was buying them cash. I bought sort of 6 or 7 properties cash. So when I returned to the UK full time, left Australia after the oil and gas slowed down, returned to the UK via some backpacking, I returned to the UK and I was sat on a lot of unencumbered property. Didn't know anything about property at the time. The small amount of education I had was from books, and got back to the UK, read about leverage and stuff like that. Massive light bulb moment. I was like, bloody hell, I'm sat on a gold mine here. So basically mortgaged every property I had and bought, I think I bought 9 one year, 8 the next year.
So how are you sitting now? How many properties?
So we've got 29 properties now. I've sold some. I did flip some, and I did sell a few that I'd rented out for a while, but we're sitting on 29 properties currently. 30 if you include my own home, but you obviously don't include that. But so yeah, mate, crazy journey really. And to be honest, most of that was funded by the Australian sort of mining oil and gas boom.
Oil and gas boom. Now, Perth currently is going through, good times. I wouldn't say there's another boom on the cards, would you? I mean, the industry.
It feels like there is. I've come back here.
Is it an oil and gas boom though, or is the place just booming?
I think the place is it's a genuine boom this time. It feels different to when I was here in 2010, 2011 when I first arrived. It was a genuine mining. Iron ore. I was sick of hearing about this mining boom when I first got here. And oil and gas obviously followed on the coattails of the iron ore boom. Coming here this time, I've been here 3 weeks now. It feels different. It feels like a genuine organic boom.
Yeah.
It feels like a real top quality city to me now.
Yeah.
Like the amount of building work that's going on is incredible. Not just in the CBD. When I was here in 2010, all of the new construction, especially high-rise construction, was centred on the CBD. Now you're seeing the South Perth, your Apple Crosses, there's high rises going up. It's crazy, like little satellite cities almost. It feels different, mate. It feels like a real boom, a real genuine boom this time.
And when did you leave? 2014.
So I left. No, mate, it was later than that. I left in 2016.
Right.
Yeah.
So between 2016 and 2023, you've seen a massive change in Perth.
Huge, huge difference, especially in the skyline. The CBD skyline, but like I say, more so I went to Fremantle the other day, and it feels Fremantle was always kind of a bohemian small town feel to it. Even that, when you're driving up South Terrace now, that the amount of eateries and new businesses, there's not an empty shop there. It feels like an inner city suburb now, rather than a real small town outside the city.
Yeah, interesting perspective that really, isn't it? Because for years, a lot of people on the East Coast have always looked at Perth and just thought nothing's really going on. But even between 2016 and 23, the market took a big downturn between 16 and 21, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you've seen huge change in that time, even through a downturn.
Yeah, exactly. I lived in Melbourne and Sydney for short stints as well, and it's Perth's obviously a lot smaller, but it feels like it's getting to those sort of that type of feeling when you walk around the city and you walk around the inner suburbs. It feels sort of beginning to feel like the same.
So let's go back to the property journey then, mate. So 2010 turned up here, 4 properties under your belt, and then you were buying how many properties a year?
Well, it differed. I'd have to look through, but when I got back to the UK, like I say, I had these unencumbered properties, and I started buying. Maybe 4 the first year.
So how many unencumbered properties how many properties did you have when you got back to the UK?
When I got back to the UK, I had 8 properties.
Wow.
6 of them were unencumbered. So I basically used that equity to just go shopping. The market was still recovering from the GFC, to be honest, in the northeast of England, as you know yourself. It's been a long, slow recovery from that. London sort of recovered very quickly. Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham recovered slightly slower than that, but still a lot quicker than the northeast. I mean, a lot of the areas in the northeast now, that the median prices for certain suburbs are still lower than before the GFC.
Really?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So there's still opportunity there, do you think?
There's huge opportunity in the UK still, yeah, especially in the northeast. People are cottoning on to that now, and we are seeing capital growth in the northeast. So we have done for the last couple of years. Rents are just crazy high in the northeast now, which has been amazing for me. Just sort of seeing 10 to 20% per annum rises in rent. It's crazy, absolute crazy time. There's such a shortage of available property. The government made some changes in, I think it was 2017, 2018, Section 24 you called it. So you could no longer, if you bought in your own name, if you bought a property within your own name, not within a limited company, you couldn't you couldn't use your mortgage payments. You couldn't claim them back in tax, basically.
Right. So it's not a tax deduction like it is here.
Exactly.
Right.
So Section 24 they call it. So that meant a lot of landlords leaving the market. So there's less and less rental property available in the UK now. Yeah. It's crazy. There's people, we're getting 16, as you know, I own an estate agency as well, and we're getting 16, 17 applications for a 3-bedroom house. It's crazy. A lot of people are going without and having to live with friends and family.
Well, let's talk about the UK market in a second, but before we get to that, with the properties that you've bought now, you use a certain strategy as well, didn't you? We talk about manufactured growth over here in Western Australia, particularly in this podcast. We talk about buying properties and forcing value onto them through renovations and stuff.
Exactly.
That was a big strategy of yours, wasn't it?
It's the only strategy I ever used. So in England we call it BRR, so buy, refurb, refinance.
Yeah.
So I would never buy a property. Well, I'll never say never, but I would not normally buy a property that I couldn't force capital appreciation with a refurb.
Yeah.
Obviously refurbs are my bread and butter. I love them. And yes, so we did essentially probably one of my best purchases, Hilton Road, bought for 50,000, spent 15,000 on the refurb, so all in for 65 plus your fees, so probably 68, 69 grand. Fees a lot lower than in England. Got refinanced at 100 grand with 3
Pulled all your cash back
3
out.
months later, pulled all my cash out plus more. And then bought another one. That was the year I bought 9, in 2019. So so basically every purchase I've made has been that sort of figure. That was my best one. Not always as extreme as that, and you don't always pull all of your cash out. I'm not going to sit here and say I've bought 40 houses and I pull all my cash out, because that just wouldn't be true. But some of them you leave 5 or 10 grand in, but you're making that back in. It's
not bad though, is it?
In 2 years.
So you're leaving 5 or 10. Let's say you bought a property and you've had to leave 5 grand in it. The net yield on that 5 grand would be 100% cash on cash, really, wouldn't it?
100%. Yeah.
So you buy your property, refurbish it, refinance it, pull your cash back out, you leave 5 grand back in, but it's 5 grand a year cash flow positive.
There you go.
That's what you call a deal, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to get those deals, because capital values have gone up massively over the sort of last 3 or 4 years.
What about construction prices, like renovation cost?
Mental, absolutely mental. I bought an old business centre, which I'm sure we'll come on to anyway. I bought an old business centre in 2020 and bought that for £275,000. We calculated the refurb cost to be 575. The refurb cost ended up being more 780. So a huge rise, and that was all in materials. Labour costs went up slightly, but material costs just went through the roof because of COVID. We were doing an 11 apartment development through COVID, which obviously had its own obstacles, which was mental, absolutely crazy times. Like working with the lights off, having trades in the building when you weren't allowed.
Got to do what you got to do, mate. Time is money.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it was a great development. But yeah, COVID just threw up so many curveballs, didn't it?
So let's talk about the progression from doing your buy, renovate, refinance sort of strategy. When did you get to the point where you thought, I want to do more? When did you get to the point where you didn't have to work? Because you got to a point where you're technically financially free, aren't you?
Yeah, you did, and I got to the point where I sort of had, I think it was 14 or 15 properties, and I'd replaced my income then and more, and so I actually quit my job. I went from 5 days a week to 3 days.
What was your job at the time?
So I was a construction project manager.
Right.
So we're doing new builds.
So you went from oil and gas driving underwater robots to construction manager.
Yeah, well, I came back. One of my best friends, Kyle, he had his own company, very successful company. I was working for him as a project manager, doing mainly internal works. So yeah, I was doing that, and then 5 days a week, I went down to 3 days a week and concentrated more on my property portfolio, growing that. Doing refurbs. I started doing refurbs for other people, started buying houses for other people. And then I quit my job full time and just lived off my rent, and life was too easy, so I started an agency.
The property management business.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very similar journey. I think you copied me.
I think you copied me, actually. Yeah. I think we know the truth there.
But it's a very similar progression, and like we're probably not the only two people that have followed a very similar process to that as well, isn't it?
Well, that's it. I think for me, I bought the properties, and you think of your properties as a business, you think your property portfolio as a business, but it didn't scratch the business itch that I had. I always wanted to have my own business. Property sort of ticked a small part of that box, but I wanted a pure, business, and the only thing I know is property, really. So inside and out, and the only thing I enjoy. So it was COVID again. Sat on my sofa at home with a laptop, thinking, I'm bored. During COVID, I didn't have a job to go to. I didn't have a job to do. You couldn't go to the gym even. You couldn't do anything. So I was looking for something extra. Started the business. Had 0 properties from day one, and 4 years later we managed 400 properties. So yeah, 100 properties a year on average. If I can keep that going, then I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
But yes, and that for me has it's a real pure business. So
Yeah.
that it's
And again, that business produces cash flow on a monthly basis
Exactly.
when you're collecting rents and paying
It's very
yourself.
similar to your rent roll. So money in, money out in a lettings agency. Your money in and money out is almost identical. Obviously, apart from hopefully a bit of growth each month, is replicated in a rent roll really in your property portfolio. So it's a very similar setup.
Yeah. So a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people realise that property, and hopefully after listening to this podcast and heard your journey, which is very similar to my journey, hopefully they realise that property is just the vehicle to give you the things in life that you want, the time, the freedom, the options to do what you want to do. There's a lot of hard work, sweat goes into it, blood, sweat, tears, late nights, early mornings, which I almost know for a fact that you've done, mate, because we've had many conversations about it. Yeah. So you've gone from that, you've then set up your lettings business, and you've got 400 properties under management. How big's your team there looking after that rent roll?
So there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us with me included. That's probably going to grow again very shortly, but there's 4 of us. I think people say sort of 100 properties per person, and that's the way it's sort of working out for us.
Wicked. And then you've got into developments as well, like development property, which you mentioned just on there. You bought the one in Billingham, was it? Yeah,
the business centre. So I think it was 14 offices. It used to be historically a very popular business centre, but then it kept dwindling over and over the years, and I saw an opportunity totally off market. I bought a new build apartment off a developer and told him I was interested in developing myself, and he said, I've been offered another site down the road, you should go and have a look at it.
And that's how you found it?
Yeah, that's how I found it. So I went and had a look at it, met the owner. He was just about to put it on market with a commercial agent. I told him not to.
And how much did you pay for it?
He wanted £400,000 for it, which he told me he wasn't getting. And great guy though, got on with him immediately. And we paid £275,000 for it. Yeah, if he'd put it on the market, he would have got a considerable amount more.
Really,
even more than that 400.
So how did you manage to negotiate him down from £400,000 to £275,000? That's big bucks, man. £125,000.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't happen overnight. We had an initial conversation, then we had a number of other conversations. Myself and my business partner, who I did a JV with, we did our numbers on it. We thought we could make it work at 350 if we purchased it for 350, but we just wanted to try and push the boundaries, try and create a little bit of a buffer for ourselves. And so I think I offered 250,000. He rejected it. Offered 275. He sort of started wobbling. I let him sit on it for a week or two, and then he actually came back to me and accepted it. So, wow. But I think a lot of that was down to, it's like anything in life, I guess. I just got on with him so well. He's a nice guy. We had a laugh, and I think he wanted me to have it in the end. Yeah. He wanted me to have the building. Yeah. Obviously, he wanted the best price he could get, but I think he liked the outcome.
Yeah. Have you seen him since you've developed this?
A number of times. He's been round. Yeah. Because the 11 apartments we created are just such a high standard. They brought the ceiling for anywhere in the northeast for me. Solid worktops throughout, vaulted ceilings, visible steel work throughout the roof works. Just beautiful apartments. Big electric gates on the front, private parking. And I think there's a little bit of pride for him there to say, this is
back to life.
Yeah, because that business centre was in his family for years.
Really?
So to now see it in its current state, I think there's a little bit of pride even for him, to be honest.
Great.
So it was nice that.
So you paid $275 for the property. I was going to say the land there because we're just so used to buying land. Yeah. $275 for the property. Renovation or conversion was
so it was 700,000. It was just £1 million all in.
Yeah,
but that includes everything: legal fees, architecture, planning consultants. Yeah, that literally includes everything.
And what's it valued at the back end?
We got it valued at 1.35. So we created £350,000 in equity, nice. which was a great result. Yeah, and the rent roll £80,000 a year.
Managing your own business.
Managed through my business.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. I've been thinking about doing a podcast called How to Become a Property Entrepreneur, Multiple Streams of Property Income. I think we've probably just recorded that podcast right now, really, haven't we? So it's
essentially royalty fees.
It's essentially build the foundation of properties that create cash flow, that can create time, freedom.
That's what it creates.
Everything else. And then It's amazing what you can do when you've got an extra 8 to 10 hours a day when you don't have to work for somebody else, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing.
And the results that you've achieved, mate, are a testament to that.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
So,
And yeah, that's what it's about. It's creating time, isn't it? It's creating. You don't need to create millions of pounds of cash flow. You just need to create enough to give you that time to then say right, what do I want to do every day, and where can my time be best utilised to create the best wealth, going forward.
What would you rather have, £1 million or £150,000 a year cash flow for 10 years?
£1 million, because I could create a lot more than £150,000 a year.
You're in the development space now, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that £1 million could create a lot more than £150,000 a year.
If we were having this conversation in 25 years, you ready for retirement? What would you rather have?
150 a year, probably. Yeah, I think.
Sit back and it comes in every year.
Exactly, yeah.
That's how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I still want to grind every day. I still got a huge drive as you have yourself, and I love getting up in the morning. I haven't worked for 4 years. Like, I haven't worked a single day for 4 years. I go to bed and I'm excited to go to work the next morning.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing, mate. And do you know, I never knew this life existed when I was working. I've done all kinds of jobs. I worked in the steelworks. I worked in oil and gas. You know, that we've touched on. I've worked in construction. I've always worked for other people, and that was great. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed my journey, but to get up in the morning and just know that you're working for yourself and to see the results coming in, you get a bit of success. It takes nothing. Motivation isn't even a thing anymore, is it? You just
motivates you.
You just get up and go. It's just amazing. I love it.
Do you mind sharing what your portfolio is worth and what it returns?
Yeah, so it's worth £4 million.
Well done.
Now, yeah. So there's about just short of $1.5 million in equity in that, which is amazing.
Fantastic.
And it creates about 100 grand a year net.
Happy days, eh?
Yeah.
What's the average wage in the area that you live in?
Average age is about £35,000 now. Yeah.
So your portfolio returns 3 times what the average wage is in that area.
Yeah.
It's not bad when you look at it that way, is it?
It's not, mate, and you know, it's taken me a long time to get there, don't get me wrong.
Well, has it though? What, 10 years?
It's taken me, about 10 years. Yeah, I'm talking relatively a long time. But when you say it out loud like that, I guess it's not that long.
10 years in a 70 and 80 year lifetime is a fraction of time, isn't it, really?
It is, mate, yeah.
When you think that people who work for 60 years, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, you've essentially done 10 years of hard graft and set yourself up for life, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. I've made a lot of sacrifices along the road.
As you do.
Huge sacrifices. You know, like I say, I was earning superstar wages over here when I came over, and the temptation was there to buy nice cars. And as you know exactly what car I had. I had a Hyundai Excel 1996 that I bought off my mate for $500. And
earning 300 grand a year.
I was on 320 grand a year over here, and I still maintained that car.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's. I just wanted to live as lean as I could. I was obviously living with you and one of our other mates, keeping our living costs as low as possible, and then sending every penny I had back. The lads I was working with thought I was crazy. I was showing them on Rightmove, which is our realestate.com over in England, showing them the type of house where my money was going essentially, and they thought I was crazy. You're never going to make any money out of those, and
basically everything you bought doubled in price, hasn't it?
Yeah,
not far off.
It's getting there now, mate. Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, capital growth isn't even a thing in the northeast.
But you're forcing it on yourself, aren't you?
We're producing that capital growth ourselves, and you know, because I've been using the same trades for 10, 15 years now, I get everything done a lot cheaper than anybody else. Yeah, which is great for my lettings clients because obviously they get everything done cheaper than most people now. So yeah, it's crazy journey when you say it out loud, isn't it?
So what's on the cards for the next 12 months and then the next 5 years? Have you got a plan in place of where you want to take it next?
So for me, property-wise, I want to concentrate on commercial to residential developments. I think that's where I want to spend my time, basically. So that development in Billingham that was 11 apartments, you know, it was still one set of solicitors, one loan, one surveyor, one architect, but you're getting 11 properties. Yeah. Whereas the buy-to-lets are great, don't get me wrong, they've without single residential buy-to-lets in England, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today. That gives you your solid foundation. They're not flashy, they don't create huge income, but they're just a numbers game. If you have 10 or 15 of them, suddenly they do start creating that income that you need. So, but yeah, I want to concentrate on commercial or residential developments. My estate agency, Orange Sales and Lettings, we seen incredible growth, so I just want to maintain that growth and increase it if I can. I do property refurbishments for people as well, and developments, HMO, commercial residential developments for other people as well. So there's a few plates being spun.
Yeah.
I just want to continue as I am. I enjoy it, so I enjoy every minute of it. So yeah,
So if an investor reaches out to you and say, Dave, I've got X amount of money, you can find them something that's technically below market value that you can add value to, and then revalue at the back end and potentially pull out most, if not all, of the cash at the back end.
Exactly, yeah. And then on the back end, they can see a great rental income per month, and obviously we'll manage the property for them at the highest level. So
fantastic. What's happening in the HMO space in the northeast? Have you got any HMOs on your rent roll?
I don't personally own any HMOs. It's something that I am interested in, and I will be purchasing HMOs. I've been doing single lets, done some service accommodation, your Airbnb stuff. Commercial or residential is my main focus, like I said. But I think I will pick up a couple of HMOs. We manage HMOs within Orange, and they're brilliant. They're brilliant.
What's the numbers look like on them? What you're paying for one over there?
So the numbers, the last one we took on management, I think we paid £72,000 for. He's done like a 20 grand refurb, and he's getting £1,600 per month.
72 grand purchase price. How much rent?
£20,000.
20k. So he's all in for under 100k.
Yeah.
And he's getting 1,600.
We'll say 100k, including all your fees and stuff like that.
And then 1,600 a month.
Gross rent. Obviously, the landlord has to pay the council tax and bills out of that, so you work on 20% of the gross rent yield, so 320 quid off that.
So that's a 15% gross yield.
Yeah.
And then do you know what he's netting out of that?
Well, obviously our management fees to come off that.
Yeah.
But I think he's netting at around about just short of £1,000 a month. Yeah.
Wow. 100 grand in, 12 grand out, 12% net yield, 15% gross yield. Not bad. Not bad numbers
at all. It's only a 4-bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can do, what can you do up to there? Can you do 6 beds, 5 beds?
You do 6 beds, but you need planning permission for that, and obviously 5-bedroom and above you need a HMO licence. That's why a lot of people are doing these little 4-bed HMOs.
Mini-mos, they call them.
Mini-mos, yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people are doing that. Obviously, you don't need a HMO licence.
Yeah.
You don't actually need your fire doors in your regulations or anything like that. A lot of people do that anyway, which we promote.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are the great little investments, to be honest. We're seeing a lot more of that in the market. The bigger HMOs, we manage a 5-bed HMO in Newcastle, which required a licence. That's a great property. I don't actually know her numbers on that, because we took over the management from another. We didn't get it from the offset, but I know she does very well out of that. The HMO space during COVID really struggled. Really? Yeah, it really struggled. It was different to over here. It was booming. The student HMOs, obviously, a lot of people stayed at home. A lot of the university courses were done online. Yeah. Professional HMOs, people were so reticent to be sharing spaces with strangers, essentially. So that really slowed down, but it's booming again now. It's absolutely booming, because rental prices are through the roof within the northeast. A lot of people are choosing to rent a room instead and get all their bills. And obviously, gas and electric's gone through the roof. Yeah. A lot of people are choosing to rent these properties while the bills are included. It's booming. HMO market in England is booming now. What's the demographic of tenant that you've got in them HMOs that you're managing there? So Newcastle. Let's try and give the listeners like a visual of the two different areas. So we've got Middlesbrough and Newcastle. So Middlesbrough, I always refer to Middlesbrough as like a Port Headland of England. Yeah, it's very industrial. Yeah. Port Head. Yeah, you're probably not far off. Yeah, it's just a hard-working town. It is. Yeah, it's like work. It is. Yeah. Well, there's nothing else to do. Yeah, and then go out the weekend, have a few drinks. Yeah, live for the weekend. Work, yeah. People have great work ethic, like you said, but people do live for the weekend. Yeah. Newcastle. What would you compare that to? Newcastle's a lot more cosmopolitan in a way. It's still got an industrial background, Newcastle, but it's sort of emerging from that industrial background. It's massive tech. There's a massive tech boom in Newcastle now. You say it's like a Perth CBD sort of, like coming out of the mining stuff. A little bit. Yeah, it's that sort of emergence. Yeah. obviously the Saudi royal family have just bought the football club.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cash.
There's a lot of focus. Yeah, there's a lot of cash, which they actually said that the Saudi family, when they bought the football club, they said, we're not buying the club, we're buying the city. And you can see already the influence that they're having, the amount of private equity and that's coming into the city.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of high-rise buildings about to be built in Newcastle
Interesting.
by the Saudi family themselves, but by other people who are seeing the opportunity that the Saudi family are creating.
Yeah.
See, the football club is the city in Newcastle. People are just so invested in the football club.
Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful city anyway. And yeah, so we're seeing a lot of tech, a lot of IT. The HMO we manage has a couple of tech workers in it, actually.
Yeah.
The rest are local hospital workers.
Right, so professionals.
All
living in the
professionals.
HMOs,
All
yeah.
professionals.
Earning good money.
Earn very good money, wages, yeah.
Okay.
So won't disclose what they're earning.
And what about Port Headland, Middlesbrough?
Middlesbrough, hospital workers or NHS students that do sort of 16 hours a week working in the hospital.
Right.
Rest of the time is spent studying.
Right, and this
Huge
it's located right next to a hospital. This one, as
Like
well, isn't it?
it's a 10 minutes walk from
Right.
from James Cook Hospital. A lot of them are the students coming over from India, Nigeria. Great tenants, lovely people, real hard working people, and they're studying their medical courses in Middlesbrough and Teesside Uni, because it's a great uni, and then working, doing the sort of 16 hours work at the hospital. Yeah.
Interesting. We've started seeing, well, a lot of people assume that the demographic living in this accommodation is student accommodation. And in the UK, you mentioned it there, you've got student HMOs and professional HMOs, haven't you? There's like an actual segregation between
Massive
the two,
segregation, yeah. You very rarely get the crossover between the two.
Yeah. We're seeing now, as our property rent roll gets bigger, and we've got, I don't know, 550 odd tenants at the minute, maybe more, we're starting to see a shift of more work professionals coming into this space. So in the early days, we had HMOs around universities because that's where we thought it worked.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing a shift towards this more work professional. We had an IT consultant, a cybersecurity guy, 230 grand a year salary, renting a room.
Well,
Like, why? But you think about why would they do it? But why do you think people rent the rooms in the UK?
I think a lot of the time it is cheaper, but I think a lot of people, if you're coming from Nottingham or from Birmingham to Middlesbrough to study, you want to create a social environment for yourself. You want to make new friends, essentially. So there's definitely a social element of it. They all congregate in the communal areas and have the dinner together and chat and have a coffee on the morning together. There's definitely an element of that. But energy prices have been a major focus in the UK.
Just since COVID, they've crept up.
Since COVID haven't crept up. They've absolutely, it's criminal what people have been paying for
really?
gas and electric. It's coming down now. Massive profiteering from the energy companies, because they're just opportunistic profiteering in my eyes. So yeah, there's a lot of elements to it. Social aspect, energy prices included within your bills. And the HMO, renting a room it's cheaper at the end of the day.
It's cheap, it's convenient.
Yeah, it is. They're generally in great locations.
Yeah.
The houses that we're renting rooms out for HMOs, you'd be talking huge money to rent them on your own. So to be within walking distance of the best bars and cafes, and your only sacrifice is you only have a room. I think it's a small sacrifice to make for a lot of people, single people.
It's a new way of living as well for some people.
Very much so, yeah.
I think back to, you mentioned it earlier, me, you and John used to live together. We essentially lived in a HMO
We
back
did,
then,
yeah,
didn't we?
yeah.
And even before that, when I first moved to the country, I lived with Jamie and Haley.
That's right, yeah.
I rented a room from them, and
and Hammond Park, we lived,
Yeah.
we lived in room by room basis.
So this is a concept that we've just came up with. We literally,
unknowingly,
we've lived that way for the first 4 or 5 years that we lived in the country together as friends, and then we've all gone in our own different ways, but we knew it worked because we've lived that way ourselves, haven't we? So,
and what were our main drivers at the time? I think our main drivers were, we wanted to be around people we knew. We'd moved to a city we didn't know inside out. It's in unfamiliar surroundings, and we've surrounded ourselves with our best mates, essentially, haven't we? Obviously the costs were lower, so that was a massive appeal. But yeah, I think you just need to look at why we did that at the time. Yeah. We were living, like you said, we created a HMO. We didn't know it. The appeal is just going to increase, I think. Especially with Perth, it's such a spread, isn't it?
Yeah,
Perth, it's such a widespread city. I think people really want to be around your South Perths and your CBDs and your Leadervilles, and to be able to do that, there's only so much property to go around. Yet, HMOs are going to become more and more attractive. And the standard of HMOs in Australia that I've seen is just, a lot of it's to do with you. The standards have just gone through the ceiling. The living accommodation is crazy good. And the same, we're seeing the same in the UK. In the UK, there's a lot of mediocre stock on the HMO market. A lot of magnolia walls, brown carpets, just fill the rooms, fill the rooms. The properties that were renovated 20 years ago and haven't been since, they're struggling. And we're refurbing a lot of them for people now. But the real high-end HMOs, people are just, it doesn't cost the world to decorate nicely and put some nice wood cladding on the walls. Just go beyond a bit, and those are really popular. You can see the rooms fly off the shelves.
But just before we hit record on the podcast, you were speaking to Joe, and you asked her what living rooms was. Did you? So, while we're here, we might as well talk about it. So Living Rooms is the new brand. We're actually going to rebrand the property management business as Living Rooms. But what we're going to have for our client base is when they want to do a HMO, we're going to have two specs. We're going to have our standard HMO spec, and we're going to have a living room spec.
Oh, amazing.
We just finished our first living room spec house with one of our investors that's done a few HMOs with us now, and also done some joint ventures with us as well. Results are incredible, mate. Like you said there, the standard was already good. The standard's just increased that little bit more now as well.
Amazing. I look forward to seeing that.
We've got 28 people registered to see that property this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, and we only put the ads online.
How many rooms is it?
Tuesday, Wednesday. There's 5 in the house, and there's a granny flat on there as well.
So over here, do you need planning permission to do the HMOs then, to a certain size? Is it the same as the UK? Or?
Yeah, so if you have 6 unrelated people living in a property, it can still be classed as a house. So there's no planning permission required, but you still need to build permits to conduct all the work that you need to do.
Right,
so
okay.
If you put an extra ensuite in and stuff like that.
Quite similar then.
Build permit, just to say that you've had the plans checked by a surveyor who said this meets the construction code. You guys go ahead and build it.
Then obviously your fire regulations, etc.
Yeah. Which because it's still a standard house and you can have 600 people living in a house, is technically no fire regulations.
Right, yeah.
You go 7 people or more, that's when it starts getting really complex. And
right, okay.
we looked at some sites probably about 12-18 months ago, and now we're going to put a 20-bedroom house on one of them. But with the construction prices going the way they were and room prices hadn't caught up, we just couldn't make it stack up properly. But we're looking back into that now, and we've got a couple of sites down in Bunbury that we're going to look at right next to a shopping centre.
Oh, wow, okay.
So there could be some 20-bed living room accommodation coming through pretty soon, mate. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. So when are you going to come back, Dave? I know you're heading back on Saturday night, aren't you?
Yeah, heading home Saturday evening. I'll be back next year, I'd say. Yeah, I'll be back next year for sure. I do need to start coming over here. I love coming here. It's a great city. Obviously, my family are here, so I do need to come back more regular, but I'll be back next year sometime,
Yeah. Well, what we'll do, mate, next time you come back, we'll hit record again.
Yeah.
And we'll see what's happened in the last 12 months since you've left here.
Yeah. Look forward to that.
David, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up.
Same to you.
Catch you later, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you stay up to date with all the cash flow positive property updates.